Greek police using masked migrants to forcibly push other migrants back across border. Police in Greece have been recruiting migrants to violently push other migrants back across its land border with Turkey, according to wide-ranging evidence uncovered by the BBC. We have seen internal police documents in which guards describe how the recruitment of so-called mercenaries was ordered and overseen by senior officers. Our findings reveal allegations of brutality, with witnesses reporting migrants being stripped, robbed, beaten, and even sexually assaulted. It has been claimed that mercenaries have been unofficially employed on the border since at least 2020. The Greek Prime Minister told the BBC he was totally unaware about allegations of the use of migrants for pushbacks, while the country's authorities have not responded to our written, detailed requests for comment. Pushbacks, forcing migrants and asylum seekers back across borders without due process, are generally considered illegal under international law. Claims that they were being carried out in Greece by foreign masked men were reported in 2022 by the Netherlands-based news organization Lighthouse Reports. Our own investigation, carried out in collaboration with the Consolidated Rescue Group, CRG, began last autumn when we were sent disturbing video allegedly showing migrants being mistreated by mercenaries. It was shared with us by a smuggler who claimed to have become disgruntled with his associates. We have not been able to verify the content, but it mirrors accounts we have gathered from other independent sources. We have since pieced together information from migrants, former mercenaries, police sources, official documents, and leaked transcripts. One border guard told a disciplinary hearing they had information, reported to their superiors, that mercenaries had been raping female migrants. 2 migrants and an ex-mercenary say they saw extreme violence by both mercenaries and Greek police, including people being beaten until they passed out. A migrant says a masked man took off her daughter's nappy in the hunt for valuables. Greece has seen well over 1 million migrant arrivals since 2015, chiefly through sea crossings, but also along its land border with Turkey. This frontier runs 200 kilometers or 124 miles along the Evros River. It marks the outer edge of the European Union, separating Greece's Evros region and the Turkish territory of East Thrace. Refugees or illegal migrants crossing the river into Greece enter a heavily militarized restricted zone dotted with watchtowers. A police source in the region told us that mercenaries have been used to push back as many as hundreds of people a week. There is no soldier, police officer, or Frontex officer serving here in Evros who does not know that pushbacks are taking place, they added. We have found that the mercenaries are themselves migrants, recruited from countries including Pakistan, Syria, and Afghanistan, and that they can be rewarded with cash and mobiles looted from other migrants, as well as papers that, in effect, allow passage through Greece. The BBC has been shown footage from 22 June 2023 in which a group of migrants who had just crossed into Evros and wanted to claim asylum were ambushed by masked men. A report into this incident by the Fundamental Rights Office, an independent investigator within Frontex, found that, based on the available evidence, between 10 and 20 third-country nationals had been acting under the instructions of Greek officers. It said they subjected the migrants to physical and verbal abuse, including death and rape threats, intrusive and sexualized body searches, as well as beating, stabbing, restraining, and theft of personal property. The report said that the migrants were then forcibly transported back to Turkey in violation of EU human rights law. The Greek authorities have denied that any migrants from this group were found in the area on that day. This is just one of several reports by the Fundamental Rights Office investigating allegations of pushbacks involving masked foreign men over recent years. Our findings could amount to an extremely significant abuse of human rights, says Maria Gavunelli, the president of Greece's Human Rights Commission. The organization itself has recorded 100 incidents of alleged forced returns in Evros, dating back to 2020. While it says cases have been declining, dozens of these alleged incidents have involved non-Greek third-country nationals, most recently in October 2025. In a brief exchange with the BBC in March, the Greek Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, said he was unaware of allegations about the use of mercenaries. However, he said that Greece was protecting its borders and added that European leaders were clear they would not repeat past mistakes by allowing in a massive influx of refugees and migrants. Frontex has rejected any suggestion it turns a blind eye to rights violations, saying it helps ensure borders are managed lawfully while supporting countries under strain. We couldn't breathe. We have spoken to 2 Syrian migrants who claim to have been forced back to Turkey across the Evros River. Amal, not her real name, showed us videos and documentation of her family in Greece, where they had applied for asylum. Her family, she says, was unexpectedly detained by police while walking through the city of Orestiada in northern Evros. They were handed to 2 masked men who demanded they surrender their phones and IDs before driving them to the border in a windowless white van. A further search at the river was far worse, she says. My daughter was wearing a diaper. They took it off. She was screaming in fear. Next, she says, the masked men, who now numbered roughly 7, herded them and about 20 others down a track, using sticks to keep them in line. As we were walking, there was a young man. They beat him so much that he fainted. She says her daughters, who witnessed this, were in a state of shock, terrified, crying. When we meet them in Turkey, Amal's youngest daughter is visibly traumatized. Another Syrian migrant, Ahmed, has told us that he was beaten to the point of unconsciousness by Greek police after being picked up in Evros. He says the next day he was among dozens of migrants who were loaded into a truck. Because of the crowding and the smell, people were suffocating. We couldn't breathe. Ahmed says the police brought the migrants to the Evros River and lined them up in groups. They were then handed over to 5 or 6 mercenaries who stripped the men and searched them before using sticks to beat anyone who tried to hide money. The migrants were loaded into rubber dinghies, he says, and rowed halfway across the river. He says the mercenaries didn't dare go any further because of fears that Turkish border guards would shoot. If migrants didn't jump from the boat, he claims, they were thrown out. The water could sweep people away. They didn't care at all. Both Amal and Ahmed undertook dangerous, unlawful journeys to reach Greece, but Ahmed argues he, like others, faced no choice. I was dying slowly in Syria, he says. People didn't leave their homes for no reason. They lived through the worst torture, oppression, and injustice. Illegal boatmen. Claims that Greek police used mercenaries were made in a 2024 disciplinary hearing, excerpts of which have been seen by the BBC. 5 border guards are awaiting trial for corruption charges, which they deny. In the excerpts we have seen, some openly acknowledged the use of mercenaries, or as they called them, boatmen. One guard told the hearing that in 2020 he was told to find boatmen to carry out pushbacks because COVID and tensions with the Turkish authorities were making it more dangerous for police to do the job themselves. The guard from northern Evros says his superior mentioned that this system was already being employed in the region's south. Guards communicated via Viber messaging app with a coded phrase to signal plans for a pushback. X persons to the operation by special team, according to the testimonies. They also said that there was information that these illegal migrant boatmen had been raping the female migrants, taking their money and throwing back their phones, something they claimed to have raised with higher-ranking officers. Separately, the BBC has met a lawyer who says she has lodged a case at the European Court of Human Rights on behalf of an Afghani woman who alleges she was raped by a masked man who spoke Farsi just prior to a pushback in 2023. Forced. There have been differing claims about whether the mercenaries in Evros are recruited willingly or under duress. Marwan, not her real name, a Moroccan we spoke to in Paris, insists he was given no real choice but to accept in 2020 and says he felt like a captive. Plucked from a jail cell full of fellow migrants caught entering Evros, he recalls being asked by a Greek officer, "You seem like a good guy and you speak some English. Do you want to work with me?" Marwan says he felt forced to say yes because he was afraid that otherwise he would be beaten. He found himself living in an old prison cell with other mercenaries led by an Afghani who he says bore a grudge against Syrians and liked to beat them.
Marwan says he spent about 10 weeks working at the border. His tasks included ferrying people back to Turkey, checking boats for punctures, and burning any leftover migrant belongings in order to destroy evidence. His recruiting officer dropped by regularly to collect phones or euros, he says. Mercenaries were allowed to keep Arabic or Turkish currency. This officer even offered to take the mercenaries to prostitutes, Marwan claims. He believes he was based around Sufli, a municipality in central Evros. He heard the Afghanis say Sufli many times. Marwan says the way migrants were treated left him completely destroyed. He says that many of them were thirsty, starving, or had rotten feet after journeying into Evros. The Moroccan is adamant that he never beat anyone, but he says he witnessed frequent violence at the hands of both Greek officers and mercenaries, the worst of it down by the river Evros. When we challenge him about his complicity in the alleged operation, Marwan